I was walking through the forest, the sun peering through the trees, illuminating my steps. The smell of flora weaved through the air while the sound of fauna chittered around me, adding song and movement to my morning. The path beneath my feet felt smooth and steady, the kind of trek that allows your mind to walk peacefully alongside you. But the further I went, the more the trail twisted and rose. I found myself feeling unsettled as the air grew heavy. The trees thinned out, and I found myself at the base of a mountain full of rocks and boulders threatening to crumble at the whisper of a wind. I didn't have to be an expert mountain climber to know I was in dangerous territory if I moved forward. But there, shining in the sun at the top of the peak, a treasure chest, my destiny. I wanted it. I needed it, so I took a step forward only to slip on the loose rock. Trying again, I put my hand on the face of the mountain only to cut my palm on the sharp crags. The climb was harder than I imagined. All of a sudden, the sky darkened. Rain began to fall. And then, tearing through the clouds with a treacherous roar, a dragon appeared with a thud in front of me. Black scales, red piercing eyes, and puffs of hot smoke scorching my face. He was blocking my way to the treasure, an obstacle bigger than my fears and louder than my inner critic. I wanted to give up right there. But what if that's not where my story ended? Hail and well met, adventurers. My name is Ashley Falletta, and I will be your dungeon master for the next 13 minutes. And I'd like to invite you into my story about how I came upon my own dragon and used the principles of tabletop role-playing games to become a hero on a quest to achieve my destiny. In the 1970s, a tabletop role-playing game was introduced to the world that blended fantasy and reality. You may recognize it from famous pop culture media such as Stranger Things, Honor Among Thieves, and maybe even the 2024 special edition of Time magazine. Maybe you've even heard famous personalities talk about it in interviews, such as Vin Diesel. It's called Dungeons and Dragons. Often misunderstood during the satanic panic of the 1980s, D&D is not, in fact, a cult, but a collaborative storytelling game where you and your friends become heroes on an epic adventure that you write yourselves. One person, affectionately called the Dungeon Master, sets the scene and guides a fully improvised story, while the rest of the players play characters with different personalities and quirks. Together, you fight monsters and solve puzzles and move the story forward, all with the help of rolling a 20-sided die. Role-playing is the practice of acting as another person or character and is often used in psychotherapy sessions. It's also a valuable tool for personal development. It can teach skills such as problem solving, coping strategies, assertiveness, and communication. And since Dungeons and Dragons is a tabletop role-playing game, the gameplay that we use can be used to sharpen your approach to life. In a 24-hour poll on social media, I asked users, are you familiar with Dungeons and Dragons? And if so, has it changed your life in any way? 74 respondents. 100% of them said yes, with emotional responses that all boiled down to the 4 pillars that we will be discussing tonight: character development, human connection, use of imagination, and taking initiative. These 4 topics can be an excellent foundation for achieving what you are meant to do: write a book, build a business, become a singer-songwriter, or even starting a family. If Dungeons and Dragons is new to you, I encourage you to willingly suspend your disbelief and embrace a belief in yourself and your future, starting now. Looking out into the audience, I see an array of people of all ages. I was born in 1984, and like many of us 80s babies, we grew up thinking we had to tick the following boxes: go to college, get a corporate job, get married, have kids, buy a house, save and invest, and retire all by the time we were 65. And I had very good intentions to follow this roadmap, but as I grew older, I realized the puzzle pieces weren't quite fitting as nicely as I had hoped. You see, I wanted to become a storyteller, however unconventional a career it was. I would often role play stories with my sister when I was younger, usually involving combat and magic and royalty. But as the years went on, I realized storytelling wasn't going to pay the bills. So I forced myself down a different path that I thought would lead to my happily ever after. But in 2015, I came across my own dragon. I had recently rehauled my whole life: marriage, career, and social group. I found myself staring at a blank page for the first time in my life, feeling storyless. I was a single mom, unemployed, and without community. I knew where I wanted to go, but I had no idea how to get there. But let's get back to the table. The characters you can play in D&D are endless, and just like in real life, the things that you are interested in are the most interesting parts of your character development. Here is a concise list of professions or classes that you can roleplay. The warrior, fierce and determined. The mage, full of magic and whimsy. The healer, empowering others to thrive. And the rogue, cunning and strategic. Which one are you? In that pivotal moment, I knew I wanted whimsy and I wanted creativity. So I embodied the character of the mage. And every hero has to start somewhere, right? And that is with determining your strengths and your weaknesses. In game, we do this by rolling dice. We take a handful of dice and roll it, throw it on the table, and the numbers that are facing up to us are distributed over 6 core abilities. Strength. Think of it as your ability to crush a tomato. Dexterity. Your ability to dodge a tomato. Constitution. Your ability to eat a bad tomato. Intelligence. Knowing that tomato is a fruit. Wisdom. Knowing not to put a tomato in a fruit salad. And charisma, the ability to sell a tomato-based fruit salad. In preparation for tonight, I self-scored myself across these 6 core abilities, and according to the strengths and weaknesses that I was born with. What I found is that given my love for communication and words and learning, my intelligence score and my charisma score were very, very high. But then we got to the lowest score, which was wisdom. When your character has a low wisdom score in Dungeons & Dragons, that means they often miss the obvious or struggle with attention to detail. And as per the CDC, an estimated 1 in 16 adults are diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And that's not including the ones that are suffering silently. So, was I willing to put in the effort to level up my attention deficit? I could certainly try. So as I played Dungeons & Dragons, I picked up a few tips that I was able to apply to real life. Frequent perception checks. When you make a perception check in a tabletop role-playing game, that means you assess the situation around you so you can make informed decisions moving forward. Note-taking. Taking notes during the story. I use a transcription app during meetings or important conversations so I don't miss any details. And human connection. Human connection in a role-playing game is often referred to as your adventuring party. And the people in your party often complement one another with your interests and your strengths and your weaknesses. So when one person is slinging spells, another one is wielding a sword. Another one is patching somebody up while another one is making a plan. I began surrounding myself with trusted allies, my husband, friends that brought me joy, business colleagues, and mentors. It was with these human connections that I found the confidence that I needed to take the next step on my journey. Use of imagination. The world is heavy. Politics, social justice, finances, media, obligations, it can be a struggle for anyone to handle. And escaping into a story can offer a short break from the weight of the world. We were brought into this world with the innate ability to use our imagination. And as adults, it would benefit all of us to bring that learn through play philosophy into adulthood. Because through play, you can refine your social and cognitive skills. You can mature emotionally, and you can develop the confidence you need to engage in new experiences. Immersing yourself in these stories, whether it be a book, Dungeons and Dragons, role-playing games, you can learn the skills and practice the skills that we are speaking about tonight in a safe environment, in an inclusive environment, without the fear of misstep. So, we've talked about character development, we've talked about human connection, and we've talked about imagination. And here comes the most exciting part, is taking initiative. That first crucial opening action before a battle. In game, we do this by rolling a 20-sided die and hoping with all our might that we score high enough to be awarded the first move before the dragon. But taking initiative wasn't about the roll of the die. It was a choice only I could make. So, I bet you're wondering, hey Ashley, did you roll high enough? Well, I stand before you a professional writer, an entrepreneur, a performer, and a mage. And as your dungeon master, I ask you, how do you want to do this? Are you ready to become the hero on a quest to achieve your destiny? Because trust me, fighting the dragon is worth the treasure. Roll for initiative. Thank you.